Welcome to the Curious Room. I want to start today by asking you to just check in with yourself for a second.
Yeah, just take a moment.
How are you actually feeling right now? And I don't mean that polite, I'm fine answer you give your boss on a video call or the nod you give your neighbor.
Right. We mean, what is the actual weather report inside your head?
Right, which is it's a pretty dangerous question to ask these days.
Oh, absolutely. For a lot of people, if they're being completely honest, the answer isn't really good or bad. It's just loud.
Loud. Yeah, loud is the perfect word for it. I was actually thinking about this on the way in today. I feel like I'm suffering from what I call browser tab syndrome.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
You know that feeling where you have about 50 tabs open in your brain? You
Uh,
can't even read the titles on the tabs anymore because they're squished so small.
and there's music playing from somewhere, but you just can't find the mute button.
Yes, exactly. It's exhausting.
It is such a universal modern condition. It's that loop of worries, the grocery list, the weird regret from 2014, and the anxiety about tomorrow's meeting.
All of it at once.
All buzzing around like flies in a jar. You try to swat one, and three more appear. And the sheer exhaustion comes from trying to track all of them at the same time.
So for this deep dive, we are going to look at a method to open that jar. And I want to be clear right up front because I'm usually the skeptic in the room when it comes to, wellness hacks.
Right.
We are not talking about medication and we aren't talking about buying a $1,000 meditation retreat.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
We're talking about technology that has been around for literally thousands of years. A pen and a piece of paper.
Which sounds almost suspiciously simple.
It really does.
It's like being told to drink more water. We know we should do, but we don't. But looking at the mechanics of this, there is a very specific biological argument that something happens when you write by hand that just doesn't happen when you type.
And it definitely doesn't happen when you just think through a problem.
Right.
That's the key here. We aren't talking about being a writer. This isn't about having good grammar or publishing a memoir or trying to be profound.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, it's about the mechanics of how the hand regulates the brain. It's purely physiological.
So let's get into the gears of this. The first big concept that really struck me is about speed. Specifically, a mismatch in speed.
Exactly.
Because I usually think faster is better. I want a faster phone, a faster car, a faster brain. But what we're looking at here is that slowness is actually the feature, not the bug.
That's exactly it. Consider the speed of a thought. It is effectively instant. It's lightning. Neurologically, your brain can flash from a memory of breakfast to a full-blown existential crisis about your career in a fraction of a second.
I do that daily.
We all do. It's rapid fire, it's chaotic, and it's completely nonlinear.
Which is why I can be lying in bed trying to sleep and my brain is doing parkour between did I lock the front door and what is the future of artificial intelligence.
Precisely.
Yeah.
That is the loud mind in action. But now, look at your hand. If you pick up a pen, you are suddenly governed by physics.
Right, physical reality.
Yes. You have to drag a stick of ink across wood pulp. Even if you scribble furiously, your hand is moving at a snail's pace compared to your neurons.
So there is friction.
Yes.
Usually we think of friction as a bad thing, like we want everything to be seamless and frictionless. But here, the friction is the therapy.
The friction is the bottleneck, but it's a totally necessary one. When you engage your hand, you are physically forcing your brain to downshift. You physically cannot write 10 thoughts at once.
You have to pick one.
Right, you pick one word, then the next, then the next.
It's like driving a Ferrari in a school zone. You have to tap the brakes.
That's a great way to put it. Or think of it like running in water. If you're on a track, you can sprint until you collapse. But in a pool, the water pushes back. It forces a rhythm.
And the paper is the water.
Exactly. It acts as a braking system for the racing mind. You stop jumping between those 50 open browser tabs, and you are forced to look at just one tab.
The sentence you're actually writing right now.
Yes, the one sentence being formed.
I think that explains why typing doesn't feel the same. I can type almost as fast as I think.
A lot of people can.
So if I'm typing out my worries, I can spiral just as quickly on the keyboard as I can in my head.
That is a crucial distinction. Typing is often just too fast to create that cognitive break. Handwriting requires a totally different level of focus and fine motor planning. It anchors you in the present moment because just drawing the letter A takes a specific amount of time and physical effort.
So we've slowed the car down. We aren't speeding on the highway anymore. But just because we're driving slowly doesn't mean the car isn't heavy.
True.
Which brings us to the next big concept, the idea of the container.
This is where we get into cognitive offloading. It sounds like a fancy tech term, but it's basically just about energy conservation.
Break that down for us. Because worrying genuinely feels like it burns a ton of energy. I feel physically tired after an hour of anxiety, even if I haven't moved an inch from the couch.
You are burning energy. You're using your working memory, basically your brain's RAM, to hold on to those worries. The human brain is evolutionarily designed to be a little bit paranoid.
Just a little bit.
Well, maybe a lot. It thinks this problem is a threat. If I stop thinking about it, I might forget it, and then the tiger will eat me.
Right.
So to keep you safe, it keeps the worry active. It loops it.
It's like juggling. You're terrified that if you stop juggling the balls, they'll just vanish, so you just keep throwing them up in the air over and over again.
Precisely. It's the principle that we remember uncompleted tasks way better than completed ones. A worry is essentially an open loop. Your brain refuses to let it go because it hasn't been dealt with yet.
So where does the paper fit in? How does ink satisfy the brain's paranoia?
The paper changes the whole equation. When you write a thought down, let's say, I am worried about the car breaking down, your brain registers a physical change. It sees that the information is now safely stored in an external drive.
It's on the paper.
Exactly. It's externalized.
So the brain goes, oh, okay, I don't have to spend calories holding this anymore.
It creates a real sense of safety. The data is backed up. The brain can finally relax its grip because it knows the worry won't be forgotten. It's the difference between carrying your groceries in your arms versus putting them down on the counter.
Oh, I love that image. Because when you're carrying all the bags, the plastic handles are cutting into your fingers, your back hurts, you're trying to close the car door with your hip.
We've all been there.
The groceries aren't the problem. The carrying is the problem.
Yes. And writing is the exact moment you set those heavy bags on the kitchen counter. Now look, you haven't cooked dinner yet. The problem of the groceries still exists.
Right, the car might still break down.
Exactly. But your arms aren't shaking anymore. You aren't bearing the weight physically.
That distinction is huge. I think people assume journaling means solving. But this is just putting down.
It creates distance. And that distance is absolutely vital for the next step. When a worry is inside you, you are the worry. You are the vessel for it. But when it's on the page, it's an object. It's separate from you. You can actually look at it.
Which allows you to see what the worry actually is. Because, and I found this really interesting, our internal thoughts aren't usually nice, clean English sentences, are they?
No, rarely. We think in what you could call the mist.
The mist, that sounds kind of ominous.
It can feel like a horror movie sometimes.
Yes.
Internal thought is often totally abstract. It is flashes of imagery, it's a knot in your stomach, a vague sense of dread, maybe a fragment of a conversation you had yesterday.
It's impressionistic.
Yes. And because it's undefined, it feels infinite.
That is so true. A vague worry feels like it fills the whole room. It's like a gas. It just expands to fill all the available space. If I just feel bad, that badness is everywhere.
Fear grows in the dark, and it grows in the vague. But writing forces structure. Basically, to write, you need language. You need a subject and a verb. You have to take that vague bad feeling and force it into a very specific shape.
You have to translate, everything is terrible into what?
You have to get specific. You end up writing, I am feeling anxious because I haven't prepared for the presentation tomorrow. And suddenly, it isn't everything is terrible. It is one specific thing that is wrong.
You've turned the monster in the closet into a stuffed animal on the bed, maybe an ugly stuffed animal, but it has edges, it has a size.
Boundaries, that is the magic word here. When a problem is just swirling in your head, it bleeds into everything. It ruins your dinner, it ruins your sleep. But on the page, the problem is exactly 3 sentences long. It starts on line 4 and it ends on line 7.
It bounds the fear. It shrinks it down to its actual real-world size. And I imagine that forces you to be honest, right? You can't just write fog. You have to pick words.
And usually the reality of the words is much less scary than the vague feeling was. The logical part of your brain has to come online to find the words, and that naturally quiets down the panic center. You are literally moving the activity from the emotional part of the brain to the logical part just by finding the right sentence.
So we've slid the car down, we've put the heavy groceries on the counter, and we've turned the fog into a concrete object. But there is another element here that I think trips a lot of people up. It's the audience. Who are we writing for?
The silent listener.
Because normally, if I have a problem, I call my best friend, or I talk to my partner, and that's good, obviously. Social connection is incredibly important, but talking to humans has limits.
It has a massive limitation. Social filtering. We are social animals. We want to be liked. We want to seem sane to the people we love.
Right.
So even with a best friend, you are always editing yourself.
Right.
You aren't going to say the truly petty, ugly, or irrational things because you just don't want them to judge you.
Yeah. I'm not going to say I'm secretly jealous of my coworker's shoes, and I hope she steps in a giant puddle because that makes me sound like a terrible person.
Exactly.
But if that's what's actually bothering me, holding it in is just adding to the noise in my head.
This is exactly where the paper becomes superior to a human listener. The page does not judge you. It doesn't roll its eyes. It doesn't interrupt you to tell you a story about its coworker's shoes.
Oh, that's the worst.
And most importantly, the page doesn't offer unsolicited advice.
Oh, the advice. That is the killer. Sometimes you just want to say, I'm sad, and not have someone immediately say, well, have you tried yoga? Have you tried drinking more water?
Right. The page is an honest mirror. Because there are no social consequences whatsoever, you can be completely brutally raw. You can engage in radical honesty. You can write the ugly thoughts. You can be petty. You can be completely irrational.
But why is being ugly on the page helpful? Shouldn't we try to be positive? I feel like we're always told that dwelling on the negative is bad for us.
Not in this context. If you suppress the ugly thought, it just festers. If you write it down, you actually release it. It also allows you to peel the onion, so to speak. If you're talking to a person, you might stop at the very first layer. You say, I'm stressed about work.
And that's where the conversation stays.
Right. But if you're writing and no one is watching, you might ask yourself, well, why?
And then you write, because I feel like a fraud.
And then you ask why again, because I made that one mistake 3 years ago. You finally get to the root cause. You get to think about your own thinking because you aren't performing for an audience.
It's the truth setting you free in a very literal, practical way.
Exactly.
But I want to pivot to the biggest hurdle I think people face with this. And honestly, it's the one I struggle with the absolute most. We are all so obsessed with productivity right now. We think every single activity has to have a concrete result.
Ah, yes. The fix-it trap.
Yes. I feel like if I sit down to write about my anxiety, by the bottom of the page, I need to have a bulleted 5-step action plan to cure it forever. Otherwise, I just wasted my time. I feel like I failed at the exercise.
This is the single biggest barrier to entry for most people. People think writing is a tool to solve the problem. But the perspective completely shifts when you realize something. The writing is the fix.
The writing itself.
The goal is not to solve the problem by the end of the page. The goal is simply to witness the problem.
To witness it. I mean, that sounds kind of passive, but it's actually really active, isn't it?
It's very active. It's about processing. Think of your kidneys. Their job isn't to fix your blood or change it into something else. Their job is just to filter it. Writing is basically the kidney of the mind. It processes the waste products of your day.
So it's perfectly okay if the page ends and I still don't know what to do about my situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, that is what happens most of the time. You might write 3 pages of absolute chaos. You might just complain for 20 solid minutes about how unfair life is. And at the end of it, your rent is still due, your boss is still annoying.
The outside world hasn't budged.
The external situation hasn't changed at all. But you have changed.
Your internal state is different.
Exactly. Your heart rate is literally lower. Your shoulders have dropped away from your ears. You have created a physical space between you and the problem. That is the win. You didn't need a solution. You just needed to put the heavy bag down for a minute.
There's this concept a lot of writers use called drainage. Doing this first thing in the morning to act like windshield wipers. You clear the grime off the glass early so you can actually see the road for the rest of the day.
It's a fantastic practice.
So for someone listening to us right now who wants to try this, let's get really practical. What is the actual protocol here? Do they need to go buy a fancy leather-bound journal with a little brass latch?
Please no. A fancy journal is actually a huge deterrent.
Really?
Think about it. If you buy a beautiful, expensive notebook, you instantly feel like you have to write something profound to be worthy of the paper. You'll freeze up. You'll start worrying about your handwriting.
I'll try to write like a philosopher instead of just writing like you.
Exactly. Grab the cheapest spiral notebook you can find. Grab the back of a junk mail envelope from your kitchen counter. The cheaper the paper, the freer you will feel to be completely messy. And the only rule is simple. Just keep the hand moving.
Free writing.
Free writing. Stream of consciousness. If you sit down and your mind goes totally blank, you literally write I don't know what to write. I feel really stupid doing this. My hand is cramping. I want
You
coffee.
just transcribed the boredom.
Yes, because you are keeping the channel open.
Right.
Eventually, your brain is going to get bored of complaining about the writing, and it will slip up. It'll say, I don't know what to write. Actually, I'm really mad at my sister.
And boom, you're in. You've bypassed the filter.
You've cleared the rusty water out of the tap, and now the clear water is finally flowing. And remember this, do not reread it. Do not edit it.
Burn it afterwards if you want to.
Seriously, throw it away. This is for the garbage disposal, not the trophy case.
That is so liberating. This is for the garbage disposal. I feel like we treat our thoughts like these precious, delicate jewels, but honestly, a lot of them are just trash that needs to be taken out.
You don't analyze your kitchen trash, right? You just remove it so the house doesn't smell. You need to treat your negative looping thoughts the exact same way.
I love that. So let's bring this all together, because we have covered a surprising amount of ground for such a remarkably low-tech tool.
We really have. We started with the speed limit, how the physical act of writing acts as a natural brake for the racing mind, forcing us into linear, one word at a time processing.
Then we talked about the container, moving that heavy mental load from your working memory onto the physical paper, essentially offloading the data so your brain can stop looping and worrying that it's going to forget.
Then we discussed giving shape to the mist, using language to label your messy emotions, turning those vague, scary fogs into specific, bounded sentences that the logical brain can actually handle.
And the incredible power of the honest mirror. Having a private place to be totally raw and unfiltered, peeling back the layers without any fear of social judgment or bad advice.
And finally, letting go of the need to fix anything. Understanding that the act of writing is the release itself. It's about daily maintenance, not instant resolution.
It really is amazing to think about how much technology we carry in our pockets every day. Phones, habit trackers, AI assistants. And yet, the most advanced tool for real mental clarity might just be a stick of ink and some cheap wood pulp.
It connects us back to ourselves. In an economy that is constantly mining our attention, pulling us outward to screens, to ads, to the 24-hour news cycle, sitting down to write is a quiet act of rebellion.
I like that.
It's an act of reclaiming your own attention. It's turning inward and saying, I matter enough to just sit and listen to myself for 10 minutes.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a visual to take with you today. I want you to imagine your mind is a room. Maybe it's a living room. And right now, for a lot of us, that room is hoarded. There is furniture piled everywhere, stacks of unread papers, boxes of old memories, random people talking in the corner. You can barely walk from the front door to the window.
It feels completely claustrophobic. You can't even take a deep breath in there.
Right. Now, imagine if you could just pick up a few of those boxes, maybe just the really heavy, dusty ones sitting right in the middle of the floor, and you just move them out onto the front porch.
And the porch is the paper.
Exactly. You aren't throwing them in a dumpster necessarily. They're still right there. You haven't magically deleted your life's problems. But look at your living room now. There is a path. There is airflow. You can actually sit on the sofa without having to move a pile of laundry first.
And that new space, that is the calm. That's what we were looking for. Not a perfectly empty room, just a room with enough space to actually live in.
The paper is always out there waiting on the porch. It's ready to hold whatever you need to put down today.
It really is the most patient friend you will ever have.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive in the Curious Room. We hope you find a quiet moment today to grab a cheap pen, some scrap paper, and just let your mind slow down.
Take care of yourselves out there.
Bye for now.